Hello, humans. It's your host, Kory, and this week we're going to talk about systems, particularly how systems tend to affect our relationship with ourselves and how they affect our ability to build and invest in our 4 pillars of wellness. So, thank you so much for joining me. There will be a little bit of a rant, especially when I start talking about the creativity pillar. When we get to that part, I have many thoughts and feelings about that. But it has been a minute since I put up the last episode. As you can imagine, the holidays are a very busy time for me as well as everyone else. And so I have been trying to just do all of the things before the end of the year. I don't know why exactly it feels like everything gets shoved into the last 2 months of the year. And so this episode is coming a week later than I would have liked it to be. But anyway, we are here together now, and I love that for us. So let's talk about how systems impact our ability to take good care of ourselves. So first, before I begin this, I need to remind you of the 4 pillars that I'm referring to. So in the Well Cared for Human model, which I outlined in my book and which I talk about in my keynotes, it's the 4 pillars of wellness, which are broken down as your body, your relationship with your body. That's 1 pillar. The second pillar is your relationship with your mind and your emotions. I put them together in case you've never heard of this before. I usually explain that the mind and emotions are together because they are deeply entwined. For example, if you're someone who starts to have a spiral and then you feel terrible, or you feel terrible and your mind starts spiraling trying to figure out why, you will understand that interconnectivity between the two, how mind and emotions have a big impact on each other. The third pillar is the spirit pillar. Your spirit pillar encompasses a lot of things, but typically that's your joy, your expression, your meaningful work, anything that connects to that big feeling of like, who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? Joy, happiness, play, all of that fits in spirit. Also, if you were a religious or spiritual person, your relationship to the divine or whatever that means for you, that would also be in this pillar. And then the 4th pillar is connection. And so let's talk about how systems that are currently in place in the world. I really can only speak from someone who lives in the American context. I know that some of my fans, my readers, my community, they are not in America, and so maybe your culture is a little bit different. So forgive me for coming from this perspective, but I will use those as my examples. And I would love to hear in the comments if you have a slightly different culture or different experience with each of these. This would be amazing to hear your perspective because I'm always trying to widen my own. But a good way to look at this is I'll take it pillar by pillar and show you how the way that our society is set up, the way the unspoken rules are set up, they undermine our ability to have a great relationship with ourselves. So, starting with the first pillar, the body pillar. We know that our relationship with our body is very important. How we feel about our body, how we take care of our body, that it affects how we feel, how we move through the world, how we take care of ourselves. And we also know that thoughts, speech, and action build or break that pillar. Okay, so how we speak about it, how we think about it, and how we act toward it break our relationship with that pillar. And so in the context of a system, take for example that we have a current system where we have a lot of high value on productivity, right? You're expected to be able to do a lot, to get a lot of things done, to be very focused. And it does not prioritize rest, right? We have a lot of shame narratives around rest. You're lazy, or you're someone who you're not contributing, you're not doing enough, you're worthless if you're not having a good enough output. So there's a lot of thoughts and speech that undermine our relationship with ourselves. A hyper-focused system prioritizes productivity, prioritizes what you contribute. So that's not good for our bodies, right? That affects our relationship with our body. Another way that our current systems undermine the body is how we eat, especially in American culture. Again, this is very specific to America. If you live in another country, you have different cultures and customs around food. This isn't going to necessarily be the same. But in America, we prioritize convenience, right? We have really highly palatable, sweet foods. We have a system that gives us really big plates, big portions when we go out to restaurants because we value getting the most for our money. And these things contribute to undermining our health, right? So if you were eating in a country where the portion sizes were different, for example, that would have a different effect on your body, that system. if you were in a culture that really built its cities to be very walkable, to the public transport to be very easy, it'd be much easier to get around, be much easier to use your body as opposed to a city or a structure that is built that where you have to get in a car and get everywhere. But what I'm trying to say is that definitely the systems that are in our culture affect this aspect of yourself. So how much you move your body, that's created by the system you live in. How you feed your body, that's also affected by the system. If it's much cheaper for you to get this ultra processed, easy food, if it's much cheaper for you, quicker for you to go through a fast food drive-in, that you can get something in just a few minutes because you're too tired from overworking, from your job prioritizes productivity, if you're too exhausted to make a meal, that's because of the system that you're in. And the reason why I wanted to do an episode specifically on systems and then look at how our pillars are affected is because I think it's really easy for us to blame ourselves when we don't take the best care of ourselves, right? When we don't take great care of our bodies, when we feel really emotionally or mentally unbalanced or unstable, when our joy just isn't there, when our spirit's very low, when we feel very drained, when our connections are great, we're like, I'm the problem. It's me. I'm what's wrong. But I want to introduce this new idea that it's not actually you. It's the system that you're trying to function in that rewards you for deprioritizing yourself, for mistreating yourself. I'm trying to find like words that aren't quite so negative, but I don't have them because I'm like, the system is broken. It's bad. We need to fix it. But we don't live in a system that encourages you to take good care of your body. It will shame you for not being able to do it, but at the same time, it puts you in this system that makes it impossible to do that, right? You're supposed to do X, Y, and Z for your body, but they've made it so hard to do X, Y, and Z for your body. You can't walk anywhere when the city's laid out like this. You can't get cheap, healthy food, whole foods. You don't have the time in the day because of your work expectations to make that food. Systemic problems. That's not a you problem. And so be very careful about how you blame yourself for that. But why do we blame ourselves? Is because they're attacking us on all fronts, the system, right? Because it wants to take as much from us because we're being treated as capital. Like we are the thing that makes GDP or whatever. So there's trying to wring all of the productivity and the assets out of us that it can. And so it wants you to act and behave in a certain way that's best for the system. But it's the system that it's a problem. It's not you. And so you're attacked by thoughts and speech, meaning how they talk about what you should be doing, what you should be able to accomplish. If you're not productive, it's because you're not doing enough of this. So really be careful about that. That's undermining your relationship with yourself. And then also the actions, how hard they make it to take certain actions to better yourself, how hard it is to get healthy food, how hard it is to find time in the day to make it when you're expected to do all these other things, or you're a terrible citizen who doesn't take good care of themselves and doesn't do enough at work and you're not contributing, etc. So one aspect, going back to the pillars, is the body, right? There's a lot of ways that our relationship with our body is undermined, not just the ways that they shame us, but how even the city is set up, how groceries are set up, how food is set up. Think about if you go to the grocery store. I saw a really great meme for this. I don't remember how long ago it was, 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something. And it was showing how the ingredients for food, even something like French fries at a fast food restaurant, the ingredients in 1990 are so different than the ingredients in 2025. In 1990, it was like 4 or 5 ingredients. So for example, French fries, it was like potatoes, oil, salt, right? That was like all that was in these fast food French fries. Now it's, if you looked at the ingredients, there's so many of these sub items. And because I don't know what to call it, like the calcium something, right? If you looked at it with all those things we can't pronounce. But when you look at this, and it's because over time, the system is now learning how to exploit you, to get you to eat that, to get you to buy that. It's predatory. Mind and emotions, I feel like there's a lot of different ways that we undermine our relationship with our mind and emotions personally. I don't even know if I can blame the system for this one. But what I can say is that a lot of the things that systems do, and when I say systems, in case that's not clear, the work system, the education system, the healthcare system, any of these bigger orders of operation that kind of dictate how you move through the world and how you move through your life. Mind and emotions, I feel, are most manipulated, at least it's easiest for me to see in the context of things like advertising and consumerism. There's a lot of manipulation on what you should be thinking, what you should be feeling in order to get you to do certain things. So that feels very exploitive, right? That feels very predatory to, I'm going to make you feel urgent about this, or I'm going to make you feel left out. So you feel like you have to do this thing with other people. So there's a lot of manipulation around your thoughts and your feelings. And when it comes to social media, for example, or a lot of us are chronically online, myself included, I catch myself scrolling quite a bit. There's a lot of design in that system of content, that social media content that's supposed to make you keep doing it, right? It's manipulating your attention, it's manipulating your focus, it's creating these narratives. And so that's a system that makes it very hard for you to be clear on what you think about things, how you feel about things. Think about the news cycle. The news? The news definitely plays with our emotions and our thoughts and tries to make us feel certain ways or make us have certain perspectives. So that's a very manipulative system that is not set up for your peace of mind, that's not set up for clarity, that's not set up for calm understanding or balance, emotional balance and peace, contentment, all these things that are good for our emotions and mental pillar. Anything about attention, anything about advertising, consumerism, news, that's all very manipulative and makes it problematic. And so if you wake up in the morning and you grab your phone because you've been conditioned to do that, and you open the news and it's just a mess, that's a system problem. If you're then going through your day being like, why am I such a bad mood? Like, why is it so hard? I should be grateful. I know I should be happy. I'm so much luckier than these other people, but your mood is terrible because someone was paid in a room somewhere as part of this big system to convince you that you need to open the news, you need to look this, you need to know what's going to happen. They're being paid. There are literally rooms and rooms of people being paid to control your attention, to control your mood, to have this effect on you so that it can get the result that it wants. And the result being your attention on that particular media app, your concern about this because you're afraid of this. So a lot of this manipulation of thoughts and feelings, that's how the system works against you. When really we just need to be outside touching grass. Well, not now, it's so cold. I walked my dog this morning. It's like I'm being dramatic. It's 30 degrees or something. Our third pillar, of which I have a personal rant to share. One of the ways that it undermines our creativity, our joys, because there is no system that values that, right? And even if you do have it, again, it's in this service to consumerism, to productivity. So think about creativity, right? I love creativity. I'm a big advocate for creativity. I have never done anything writing, otherwise speaking, episodes, whatever, in which I'm not like, creativity is amazing. It will save your life. So that's been very clear. But creativity is not valued. I mean, they say it is in business and stuff, but then they give it this word like innovation, and they make it about what you can make that you can sell that will transform the world. And so even the narratives around something that's just supposed to be for your own self-healing, transformation, or maybe, yes, contributed to the world to make it a more beautiful place, but done from this experience of connectivity, of expansiveness, of play, of joy, that it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay if it's messy, it's okay if it's not perfect. None of that is allowed in a system that prioritizes production, results, whether or not you can package it, whether or not you can sell it, whether or not it will be of value to other people. God forbid you do something for yourself just because you like to do it, and it's this half-formed, misshapen little thing, but you had a good time. Gosh forbid you have a good time just for a good time's sake. We do not live in a system that supports that. Even companies that have this reputation for being creative are talked about in a different way, like innovation, or I'm blanking, of course, on what adjectives to use here, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, which is this idea that it's packaged in a way to be in service of productivity or consumerism. What can you sell it for? And think about people who that's their job. Like a content creator, for example, you have to post 7 times a day and it has to do this, this, and this, and it has to be great. And you feel this immense pressure to approach creativity with this mindset of being very focused, very effective, very high production quality. It's got to look really great. It's got to be better than anybody else's because you got to get ahead. It's very competitive. It's not collaborative. And so that is a systemic problem, right? That undermines our relationship with our creativity. And the best example I have of this, which is like my rant, is my own relationship with creativity. So for those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that I do a lot of different things. Even within one genre, take writing, for example, I have a lot of books. I'm wrapping up production on my 34th book right now, okay? A lot of books. Even those books are really different. Some of them are poetry, some of them are nonfiction, some of them's fiction, different kinds of fiction, fantasy, thriller, all over the place. And when you look at it, you're like, wow, that's all over. But if I was to put that in a system, so for example, the publishing system, they'd be like, you need to just write one thing. You need to write just one series and stick with it so we can sell it. Even that system doesn't honor true nature of creativity in its aspect of my relationship with myself, which is creativity is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be playful. It's supposed to be joyful. I'm supposed to be able to do as many different kinds of things that I want, to see what I love, to see what's fun, to see what's great. I don't want to limit myself and make myself small just because you don't know how to sell me. Here's the rant part, right? It's like, I don't want to make myself tiny just because you don't understand the magnitude of my creativity. And so there's a system, a consumeristic productive system that says I have to do a lot and fast and it's got to be able to be sellable. That's not true to my relationship with creativity. That's not true to my relationship with joy and happiness and fun and play, and it doesn't fit. So there's a big difference between the system and my relationship with that aspect of myself. And so when I look at what the system is telling me is right, what the system is telling me we should do, that makes me feel like, oh, maybe I'm not very creative. Maybe I'm not very good at this. Maybe I'm not doing enough, because the system presents itself as it should be this, this, and this. And because it's not that, because we are so much bigger than the system, and because the system doesn't reward our care of ourselves, our relationship with ourselves, we're made to feel bad when we invest in ourselves, or we're made to feel bad when we do what's right for us, or we're made to feel bad when we are all that we are, rather than just this little part that we're allowed to be within the context of this system. And then the fourth pillar, we see this too. The fourth pillar is connection, our relationship with being seen, being visible, and also our ability to have relationships with other people. There's a lot of expectations about who you should be to other people. And they have the system set up. And if you don't fit that system, if you're not fulfilling your role within that system, there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of blame. There's a lot of you're not doing enough. So take mothers, for example, is a good one, because I have a lot of friends who are moms. And they tell me about how they never feel like they're doing enough for their kids. They never feel like they're doing enough what's expected for them, because there's a system that has this narrative that they have to do this, this, and this, be this, this, and this in order to be a good mom. And if they can't do that, or if they don't have enough energy that week, and why wouldn't they? Because the system's destroying all these other well-being aspects. But if they somehow can't do it anyway, they're a bad mom. They're not doing enough. They're not good enough. And again, it's this unrealistic creation of the system that's impacting the relationship with yourself, that's making you feel like you're not enough, that you're not doing enough. And so my whole point for this episode today is that I want you to really ask yourself, is it you or is it the system? There are many different interconnecting systems that dictate our lives. Maybe I will do a thought exercise one day and write them all out, all the different systems, but there are so many. But is it really you, or is it the systems that are making your life harder, that are making you feel bad about yourself? And maybe don't hold yourself to a measure of a system, a broken system, I would argue, that someone else created, when you are enough as you are, when you are doing enough as you are, when your relationship with yourself is important, no matter what they say about it. You are enough as it is, and the problem is not you, it's the system. I was listening to a friend who is an amazing person. She does amazing things, and she was being really hard on herself. And this week, too, I was also being really hard on myself, and I reached this point, and I was just like, is it me? I don't think it is. Like, I am definitely someone who will call myself out if it's me, if I'm the problem. I do that often. But in this particular case, I was like, you know what? I don't think it's me. I think it's that we are being expected to operate in systems that do not serve human well-being. The systems right now, as they are created, is meant to serve these huge machines of consumerism and productivity, basically the residual effects of this industrial age, right? Like, we are just little peons meant to feed that with our time and our energy and our money to make it work. And so the reality is that we're not taken into account. We are not treated as the valuable thing, as the thing that needs to be nurtured and protected and taken care of, and whatever verb, adjective you want to put here. We are not the worthy asset, right? We are only here to produce something for this big system, this big machine. And please be very mindful about how these systems are undermining your relationship with yourself and the 4 pillars of your well-being. And don't feel guilty when you take a step outside of this system and you start investing in yourself, because that's how it should be. And hopefully one day we will get to a point where all the systems are completely revamped and they now serve humans and not these giant entities, these giant corporate consumerism entities, that there's more balance and alignment and that human well-being is put at the forefront there. But until then, you do what you need to do to step back and take good care of yourself, and do not let anyone make you feel bad about that. And that's it for this week, dear human. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be back next time with another episode of Well Cared For Human. And until then, please take good care of you.